Let me tell you about a place that's taught me more about golf and humility than any fancy country club ever could. The Vernon Hills Municipal Golf Course. And before you click away thinking this is just another boring golf course review, stick with me because this little 9-hole track has a story that perfectly captures everything both wonderful and frustrating about municipal golf in America. I want to talk about the Vernon Hills Municipal Golf Course, a golf course that's close to me that I've played a lot. Here's the thing about Vernon Hills. It's technically only half a golf course, and I mean that literally. This place used to be a full 18-hole layout back in the day, but then, as happens with so many municipal courses near growing suburbs, developers come a-knockin', money talked, and just like that, 9 holes disappeared under cookie-cutter subdivisions. Some golfers' favorite par 5? Well, now it's a backyard. That signature par 3? Yeah, cul-de-sac. But you know what? What's left is actually pretty damn special. For years, Vernon Hills was my go-to spot for a reason that will resonate with anyone who's ever tried to play golf on a budget. $20 for 9 holes. Add another $5 and you can play the same 9 holes again for a full 18. $25 total. To put that into perspective, the National Golf Foundation reports that the average cost for 18 holes at a public course in the US is north of $37, and that's excluding resorts. So, Vernon Hills wasn't just affordable, it was a steal. And the season pass? About $600 for unlimited golf all season long. I'm talking April through November in Illinois. Do the math on that. If you play twice a week, you're looking at what, maybe $7 or $8 per round? For people like me who are borderline obsessed but definitely not rich, that math made the Vernon Hills golf course feel like winning the lottery. But here's where I have to be honest with you. This course and I have a complicated relationship. Specifically, we have beef over one particular feature, the creek. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just water. Hit over the water, Pete. And you'd be right, except this creek has a personal vendetta against me. You see, the course was designed back in 1979 by Dick Nugent, one of the most legendary golf course architects in the Chicago area. This guy designed over 90 courses in 12 states, including Kemper Lakes, which hosted the 1989 PGA Championship. The man was a University of Illinois grad, he played football for the Illini, and he knew his stuff. He designed this course with one brilliant, diabolical strategy. Put the water exactly where amateur golfers naturally hit their drives. I'm talking about that 200 to 230 yard landing area, right in the wheelhouse for most recreational players. And before you golf purists start lecturing me about course management and playing smart, let me tell you, it's one thing to know you should lay up. It's another thing entirely to actually do it. And especially when your ego is screaming at you and your buddies are watching, you pull out the big dog anyway. The creek now meanders through 7 of the 9 holes. It's like Dick Nugent drew a line on a map showing exactly where weekend hackers would hit their balls. And then he said, let's put water right there. And I guarantee you, I've donated more golf balls to that stream than I care to admit. Sometimes during the drought season, it's barely a trickle, just enough water to claim your ball. Other times, after heavy rain, it's a legitimate river rushing through the course like it's auditioning for a whitewater rafting commercial. But here's the thing about Vernon Hills that kept me coming back despite my water ball donations. It's real golf, not in the fancy country club sense, but in the sense that it punishes mistakes and rewards good shots. The fairways are narrow. The greens are small. There are trees, big, fluffy, ball-eating trees everywhere. This isn't some wide-open, forgiving muni where you can spray it all over the place and still somehow manage to scramble for par. This is a take-your-medicine golf course. I have lost so many balls in those trees that I started buying the cheapest balls I could find. You know, Pro V1s. Now, fast forward to around 2022 or 2023. This is where the story gets interesting. Kemper Sports, a major golf course management company located right here in Illinois, took over operations. For those who don't know, Kemper Sports manages over 200 golf courses, private clubs, and resorts nationwide. They're serious operators with serious resources, and they've been making changes. The first thing they did, they moved the first tee box way forward. This might not sound like a big deal, but hear me out. The first hole used to be this intimidating par 4 where the water was absolutely in play off the tee. You'd step up to that first tee box already nervous, probably haven't warmed up properly because the practice facilities there are minimal, and you'd have to thread a driver over the water and not hook it over the fence into the Metro. It was a recipe for disaster. I can't tell you how many rounds I started with a splash and a colorful word. But Kemper shortened the first hole significantly. Now, a halfway decent drive carries the water easily and leaves you maybe 50 to 60 yards from the green. It's become what I call a warm-up hole. You can grip it and rip it without too much fear, get your swing going, maybe even make a birdie to start the round on a positive note. And honestly, this was a brilliant move because they didn't just shorten the hole for fun. They took that space and built something Vernon Hills desperately needed: a proper practice putting green. And I'm not talking about some small, sad little green in the corner. This thing is massive, over 16,000 square feet. To give you context, that's about 65 yards long. The old putting green was smaller than most of the greens on the actual course, which is saying something because those greens on the course are pretty damn small. But this new facility, it's tournament quality. Multiple cups, different slopes, plenty of space to actually practice. The project started in June 2024 and they completed it about 11 months later. Pretty impressive considering they had to deal with Midwest weather. According to the village officials who announced it in 2025, this was all part of a theme: building the game of golf. They wanted to create player development opportunities, especially for beginners and juniors. And here's something I really appreciate: they kept the philosophy of accessibility. The Vernon Hills Golf Course has been ranked as one of the top 10 9-hole courses in the entire Chicagoland area. That actually surprises me a bit. And that's not just some marketing fluff, that's a real accolade. You're playing a course designed by a legendary architect, maintained to solid standards, and competing with courses that cost 2 or 3 times as much. Now, I mentioned earlier that it used to be ridiculously cheap. Here's where I need to give you the reality check. Kemper introduced dynamic pricing. If you've ever booked a flight or a hotel room, you know how this works. Prices fluctuate based on demand, time of day of the week, weather, and market conditions. So that flat $20 rate, it's gone. Now, maybe it's $15 on a Tuesday afternoon in September, or it might be $35 on a Sunday morning in June. I have mixed feelings about this. On one hand, dynamic pricing is the way of the world now. Golf courses are businesses, and if they charge more when demand is high, I can't blame them, especially when the National Golf Foundation found that greens fees at public facilities have climbed to over 16% in the last few years. Courses are dealing with increased costs for labor, supplies, and maintenance, all while trying to stay solvent in an industry that was oversupplied for years. I'll be honest, I wouldn't want to be in the golf course maintenance business. Now, on the other hand, I miss knowing exactly what I'd pay. There was something beautifully simple about $25 for 18 holes. Show up, pay your money, go play. Now you've got to check online, compare different times, maybe book in advance to get a better rate. It's a little more complicated, but even the dynamic pricing, Vernon Hills remains affordable compared to most courses in the area, and that's the bottom line. Let me tell you about another feature this course has that deserves mentioning: hole number 7. This is a par 3 that plays from an elevated tee, and I mean elevated. According to official Lake County surveying records, the 7th tee is 727 feet above sea level, while the green sits at 682 feet. That's a 45-foot drop. So even though the hole might measure 150 yards horizontally, it plays like 120 to 130 yards because you're hitting downhill. It's a gorgeous hole, probably the signature hole on the course, but that elevation also means the wind is always a factor. I've hit everything from a pitching wedge to a 6-iron on that hole depending on the wind direction. Now I want to talk to you about something that genuinely changed my golf game: the Monday Night League. I haven't played in a league for a few years now. Life got busy, work schedule changed, money got tighter, but for a couple of seasons, this was the highlight of my week. The league started at about 4 p.m., which meant you needed some job flexibility, but a lot of the participants were retirees, which makes sense. And if you could swing it, it was absolutely worth it. Here's how it worked. You'd find a partner, sign up for the season, and then every Monday night, it was your team versus another 2-person team. Everyone played their own ball, everyone recorded their own shots, and you'd play for points with your standing track throughout the season. Before I joined that league, the only organized golf competition was what I played in high school. And the reality is that most people never play in any organized golf competition. The USGA reports that the average male golfer in the United States has a handicap of 14.2. Most recreational golfers, including myself for a long time, don't even have an official handicap. We just play with our buddies, keep rough scores, and kind of guess at how good or bad we are. But here's what the league forced me to do: actually follow the rules of golf and actually keep score. I don't care how honest you think you are when you're playing a casual round of golf. There's always a little fudge factor. Maybe you don't count that ball you lost, but claimed you saw where it went. Maybe you give yourself that 2-footer without actually putting it in. Maybe you improve your lie just a tiny little bit on the fairway. Maybe you take an extra mulligan on the first tee because you weren't ready. It was a breakfast ball. Maybe a pickup after a triple bogey because you're frustrated and just want to move on to the next hole. All that stuff, it stops in a league. You have to play the ball. You have to hole every putt. You have to count every stroke. And you know what I discovered? you're way worse than you thought. My first few weeks in the league were humbling, to say the least. I thought I was shooting in the 90s regularly, maybe the mid 40s for 9 holes. Turns out, when you actually count every shot and follow the rules, I was more like a 52, 53 on 9 holes. And that's kind of average, actually. The National Golf Foundation found that the average 18-hole score in the United States is around 94, so I was bang on in the average. But admitting that to yourself stings a little when you've been telling yourself you're an 87. The league also did something else magical. It gave me an official handicap. For a lot of amateur golfers, this is the first time they get a legitimate USGA tracked handicap. Not a guess, not a, well, I think I'm about a 15, but an actual number based on actual scores from actual rounds following actual rules. And once you have that number, you can track your progress. You can see when you're improving. You can identify patterns. Are you losing strokes off the tee, around the greens, putting? Having that data changed how I practiced. Instead of just going to the range and mindlessly hitting drivers, I started working on the parts of my game that were actually costing me strokes. By the end of my second league season, my handicap had dropped from about a 16 to a little over a 12. That's 4 strokes. I think it's a pretty big improvement in just one season. And you know why? Because I was playing smart golf instead of ego golf. Smart golf means hitting a 5-iron off the tee on the hole where the creek crosses at 230 yards, even though you know you could probably carry it with a driver. Smart golf means laying up on the par 5 instead of trying to reach it in 2 when there's water in front of the green. Smart golf means not trying to hit my driver off the deck when I could just hit a 5-iron instead. Smart golf means taking your medicine when you hit a bad shot into the trees instead of attempting some hero recovery shot that results in a quadruple bogey. The thing about Vernon Hills is that it's a perfect course for learning these lessons. It's not so long that you need to be a big hitter. It's not so hard that it's unplayable. But it's also not so easy that you can be sloppy and still score well. It rewards good decisions and punishes bad ones. That's what a golf course should do. Let me give you another perspective on why this matters. According to USGA statistics, only about 10% of male golfers have a handicap of 4.9 or better. Only about 1% are scratch golfers or better. So when you're grinding away trying to break 90 or break 80, you're actually in a pretty elite group if you succeed. But to get there, you need to play honest golf and learn from what actually works. The league at Vernon Hills gave me that opportunity. It also introduced me to people from all walks of life. Retirees who had been playing for 40 years, young guys just starting out, good golfers, terrible golfers, good guys, annoying guys, engineers, teachers, salespeople, small business owners. The common thread was that we all loved the game and we all wanted to get better. There's something special about that kind of community. Now, I'd be lying if I said Vernon Hills was perfect. The clubhouse is small, it's just a modest building with a pro shop, a little bar area, and a porch where you can grab a beer after your round. There's no banquet hall, no fancy locker rooms, no private event spaces. The practice facilities are limited to a few hitting nets and that big putting green that I mentioned. There's no driving range there. So if you want to hit a full bucket of balls before your round, you're kind of out of luck. You warm up with some putts and some chips, maybe hit a few balls into the nets, but then you go and play. But honestly, that's part of the charm. This isn't trying to be something it's not. It's a 9-hole municipal course in a Chicago suburb. It serves its purpose beautifully, providing accessible, quality golf to the local community. The porch is actually one of my favorite spots after a round, especially on a summer evening. Sitting out there with a cheap beer, watching other golfers finish up, maybe striking up a conversation with a stranger about their round. That's pure golf. No pretense, no dress code beyond please wear a collared shirt, no attitudes, just people who love the game. And here's something that most non-golfers don't understand. Golf is hard, like genuinely difficult. When you watch the pros on TV making it look easy, you're watching the top 0.001% of all the golfers in the world. They are genetic freaks with perfect swings, honed over thousands of hours of practice, playing on courses that are manicured to perfection. While the rest of us, we're out there chunking chips, 3-putting from 10 feet, and losing balls in places we didn't even know existed. But that's what makes golf addictive, because every once in a while you hit that shot and it brings you right back in. It sucks you back into the game. Vernon Hills has given me plenty of those moments. It's also given me plenty of moments where I wanted to throw my clubs in the damn creek. But that's the beautiful relationship most people have with golf. It's complicated, frustrating, rewarding, and occasionally wonderful. Kind of like life itself, I guess. Under Kemper's management, the course has seen legitimate improvements beyond just the putting green. The conditioning has gotten better. The pace of play is more consistently managed. They've added some technology for booking times and tracking your round. It feels more professional while still maintaining that municipal course accessibility. Is it more expensive than it used to be? Yeah, a little bit, especially when you consider that it's still significantly cheaper than most comparable courses in the area, and you're playing a course designed by a Hall of Fame architect that's been ranked as one of the best 9-hole courses in major metropolitan. Well, what's not to like? And for someone like me who lives in the nearby suburbs, the Vernon Hills Golf Course represents exactly what municipal golf should be. It's close to home, I can get there in a few minutes, I can squeeze in 9 holes on a weekday evening, and I can be home before dark. I can bring my son to the putting green to hopefully work on his game, but all he really wants to do is drive a golf cart. I can meet some former coworkers for a quick round without making it a 4-hour ordeal. That accessibility matters. With golf prices climbing across the board, remember, 16% in the last 4 years, courses like Vernon Hills serve a critical role. That's where regular people can afford to play, that's where kids can learn the game, that's where retirees can play 3 or 4 times a week without breaking the bank, that's where hackers like me can chase the dream of breaking 80, even if that dream is delusional. So, if you're in the Vernon Hills area, or anywhere near the north suburbs of Chicago and want to play 9 holes without spending a fortune, check out the Vernon Hills Municipal Golf Course. Bring extra balls for the creek, don't let your ego convince you to hit a driver on every hole, and spend some time on that massive putting green. Grab a beer on the porch afterwards and chill out. You'll probably lose a few balls, you might get a little frustrated in the process, but you'll understand golf at its core. And who knows, maybe I'll see you out there. I'll be the guy pulling out the driver, still putting it in the water, and then I'll complain that they didn't move the tee box forward enough. That's how it works. Excuses rule. Peter Von Panda, out.